Assalamualaikum and good morning, class. How are you all doing today?
Good morning, teacher. I'm good. Thank you.
Morning, teacher. I'm fine too.
All right, good to know that you all are fine. So I am teacher Tasha and will be accompanying us today will be teacher Deevviya.
Hello students, I'm teacher Deevviya. So today, me and teacher Tasha will be teaching you about plot.
So students, are you ready for today's class?
Yes, teacher, I'm ready.
All right, good. Before that, let us watch a short clip before we continue with our lesson. All right, students, it's just a short clip, and can you tell me what did you see in that video?
Can I say about this video?
Yeah, sure.
I think this typewriter is moving on its own. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. The typewriter is moving on its own. Anything else?
I think I don't know, maybe it just moving. I don't know.
Yeah, students, it's correct. The typewriter is moving on its own. And is it a ghost using the typewriter? Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, teacher. I believe in ghosts.
All right. Well, student, do you know what is the relation between this video and what you are going to learn today?
I think this video is related to the short story because in the short story, the main character used the typewriter to do her work.
Yes, correct, Shafika. Well done. It is about the short story Qurtiop. Okay, student, today we are going to learn about plot in a short story Qurtiop. And have you read the short story that was given to you last week?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Good job. Okay, glad to know that you have finished to read it. So students, here are our learning objective for today's class. Can I have a volunteer to read them?
Yes, teacher. I will read it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
sure,
for the first one, learn about the plot components in short stories. Next, identify the plot components in Quartiop. Answer 4 out of 6 questions from the activity correctly. Discuss about the elements of plot and on how to apply it in writing. And the last one is construct 2 paragraphs of plot element.
All right, thank you, Shafika. All right, now students, I will pass to teacher Deevviya to continue our lesson for today.
Thank you, teacher Tasha. So hi, class. So today, before starting our lesson, we will be starting it by looking at a short video clip so that you would have a more understanding about what we are going to learn today. So yeah, wait a moment.
There are 5 basic elements that make up a story. Plot is one of those 5 basic elements. The plot is a term for the main events in the story. The main events happen in a certain order, and so the plot is sometimes also referred to as the storyline. Looking at it more closely, the plot can be further broken down into 5 parts. It's helpful to imagine those 5 parts as a roller coaster ride. The first part of the plot is called the exposition. The exposition is simply the beginning of the story. Here, the author introduces the characters and establishes the setting. The next part is the rising action. This is where the conflict of the story is revealed. During the rising action, the main character encounters some sort of problem that creates tension, such as when the wolf blows down the little pig's house. The climax is the next part of the plot. It is the most exciting part of the story and the point where there is a change in the direction of the story and its course of events. In The Three Little Pigs, this would be when the wolf gets frustrated and tries to enter the brick house through the chimney. The next part is the falling action. It occurs right after the climax. The tension from the conflict starts to decrease and the story events wind down or settle toward an end. The falling action in The Three Little Pigs is when the wolf lands in the hot soup pot and gets burned. The last part of the plot is the resolution. Here, the problem of the story is solved and the story ends. In The Three Little Pigs, this is when the wolf runs away and disappears into the forest.
Created using Powtoon.
There are 5 basic elements that make up a story.
So that's the short video, and today we will start our class by identifying literature component. So I would like someone to volunteer and let me know, what do you think is literature component? Anyone?
Teacher, can I try?
Yes, Shafika, sure.
I think literature components are the elements in a story, like characters, settings, and the plots. Is it right?
Yes, Shafika, it's absolutely correct. So literature component is a literary element that refers to component of literary work such as character, setting, theme, frame, and so on. These are what we call as technical terms for what a work refers to. So today we'll be focusing on 5 main components, which are character, themes, plot, setting, and moral value. First element that we are going to be focused is character. So what is character? Character refers to the people in the story. So some of the characters that we could identify in our short stories are Lucky Bat, Ghost of Miss Broom, Harky Duck, Lucy's mother, who is known as Mrs. Bird, Uncle Bird, and also Mr. Rose. Moving on, moral values. So what are moral values? Moral values are beliefs and values of people that confront on what is right and what is wrong and deals with people. So moral values are basically what you learn from the short story, the positive things that you learn from the short story, and something that you will have to practice in your daily life as well. So moving on, we will have themes. So themes is known as a central meaning or an underlying meaning of literary meaning. So examples of theme in our short story is determination, family love and care, and finally commitment and loyalty. So we will be focusing on our 4th element, which is setting. So setting is a literary device that allows the writer of a narrative to establish the time, location, environment, and where it takes place. So setting will help us to imagine on how the story is going so that we would have a better understanding for ourselves. So the story for setting in this story was set in a small town called Belmont, and it resolves around 2 main settings. First one is Lucy's house, where she shares her mother and her uncle Brett in a poor neighborhood. And the second setting, which is the office of Rose and Bannisters, where Lucy works as a secretary. So this office is a small firm in which it is over 30 years old. So from all of these 4 elements that I have told you, have both of you understood what I said, or do you want me to repeat anything?
Everything is clear, teacher. I understand it.
Okay, thank you, Shafika, for your response. So moving on to our final literary component, which we will be focusing more, which is the plot. So what is plot? Plot is the sequence of elements or events or make up a story, whether either it's told, written, filmed, or sung. So the plot of the story is more specifically on how the story develops and unfolds in time. So there are 5 patterns or sequels for a plot, which is the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So we will be focusing on each of the parts now. Okay, so first of all is exposition. So exposition is the beginning of the story. So I would like to have one volunteer to identify which do you think is the exposition part and what is being introduced at the exposition part. So anyone?
Teacher, I would like to try.
Okay, Shafika.
I think the exposition part is the beginning where the main character is being introduced, which is Lucy. And we also know that she's trying to get a job. Is it right?
Okay, let's look at the answer. So the exposition part is where the main character Lucy is introduced and she lives with her mother and uncle, and she has completed her secretarial course and wants a job because she is tired of living in poverty and wants to lead a better life. So yes, Shafika, your answers were almost correct. You just missed out the leader part. So you see, as I said, it's the beginning of the story. We have our character Lucy Burke, and we have our setting, which is where she lives, and we have a little bit about her background. So moving on is the rising action. So rising action is an event before the climax where the characters attempt to solve the problem but fail. It means there's a rise of a problem in rising action. So would Shahira volunteer to answer which do you think is the rising action of this short story?
Yes, teacher. So in the rising action, Lucy managed to get a job. And then Harry Duck explained to Lucy that she needs to use the typewriter. But the typewriter is like moving on its own and control her. Is that right?
Okay, let's look at the answers. So Lucy managed to get a job as a secretary at Rose Bannister's after being interviewed by Mr. Rose. And Hanrida explained that she needs to use the typewriter to do her work. And whenever she types, the typewriter tries to control herself, where the word Kitschio keeps on appearing each time she types. So Lucy types questions in order to investigate the mystery behind it. And Harry Duck informs her that the whole former secretary, late Mrs. Broom, who was forced to resign. So yes, Shahira, your answers were correct. So that's the answer. Moving on, we will be focusing on climax. So what is climax? Climax is the turning point, the point of the greatest suspense or action, which means at the climax, the problem reaches to its highest peak. So would anyone like to explain which is the climax of our short story?
Teacher, I think the climax is the part where Lucy tries to confront with Miss Broom. Like she's arguing with Miss Broom using the typewriter because she wants to keep her job. She doesn't want to give up her job because Miss Broom is already gone. So yeah, I think that's the part.
Okay, so let's look the answer. Lucy is determined to defend her job and she started to type another copy by fixing her eyes on the key. She was surprised when the typewriter typed an tracing note. Through the battle of wits between Lucy and the spirit of Miss Broom at the typewriter, Lucy managed to gather all her courage. She erased the words and she managed to type all her letters and sent it to be signed by Mr. Rose. So yes, Shafika, congratulations. Your answers were correct, where she was trying to defend her job by having to communicate with Mrs. Broom's spirit. So moving on, we will be focusing on falling action. So falling action is an action or event that occurs after the climax, where the characters in our short story will be starting to solve the problem that arises at the climax. So would anyone like to volunteer and identify which do you think is the falling action? Yes, Shahira.
Okay, I think in falling action, Lucy feels sorry to the Miss Broom after she heard about Miss Broom loneliness and depression. So Miss Broom and then Lucy tried to persuade her to live in peace.
Okay, so let's look at the answer. So Lucy feels sorry for Mrs. Broom after what she heard about Mrs. Broom's loneliness and depression after losing her job. She is sympathized with Miss Broom and tries to persuade her to live in peace. Lucy convinced her that Mr. Bannister needs to help her in the afterlife. So yes, Shahira, your answers were correct. So Lucy was sorry for Mrs. Broom and she tried her best to help Mrs. Broom to have her afterlife life. So finally, we will be focusing on resolution. So resolution is the end of the plot, which means all the characters have finally solved the problem that arises. They completely solved it, and it shows us that it is the ending of the story. So would anyone like to try? Which do you think is the resolution of our short story?
Teacher, I think the resolution is the part where Lucy writes a letter to say goodbye to the Miss Broom. And finally, Miss Broom leaves her alone. She doesn't interrupt Lucy anymore.
Okay, so let's look at the answer. The typewriter becomes silent and Lucy types a goodbye note to Miss Broom. There is no reply and Lucy was relieved as she finally helped the spirit of Miss Broom to find a peace at last. So yes, Shafika, your answers were correct. So finally, Miss Broom has left her and Lucy could finally have a job without anyone disturbing her. So congratulations, Shahira and Shafika. Both of your answers were correct. So I think that you guys are, I think that both of you have really put your 100% into reading the stories and understanding the stories. So before continuing, I would like to ask, did both of you understand on what I explained about the plots? Did you understand all the elements in it and my definition, my explanation? Was it okay?
Yes, teacher. All clear.
Okay, thank you, Shafika and Shahira. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for your cooperation, and Teacher Tasha will be continuing with the next activity. Thank you.
All right, student, well done. Thank you for participating actively during the class. Now, let us play a game to strengthen your knowledge about the element of plot in the short story. Are you ready to play the game, class?
Yes, teacher.
Student, now you need to join the Kahoot game using the link that I have given in the chat box. After you enter it, you have to enter the game pin and your name. Okay, Shafika has joined us. Shahira also has joined. Okay, are you ready, students?
Yes, teacher.
All right, let's start. Correct. Both of you are correct. So next question. Okay, Shafika on top. Okay, correct. Both of you are correct. Shafika still on the top. Okay. Come on,
Yay.
Shahira. Okay, correct. Exposition is the element that introduce character and settings. Wow, Shafika on fire. Okay, next question. Okay. Climax is the part where the story most intense, and climax is also the most exciting part in the short story. Okay, students? All right, next question. All right, the problem in the short story, we call it as conflict. Congrats. Both of you are correct. Okay, last question. Correct. Resolution is the ending part of the short story. Okay. Let's see who is in the podium. Okay, congrats Shahira for the second place. And the winner goes to Rafika. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
both of
teacher.
you.
Thank you.
Students, excellent and congratulations to the winner. For those who do not win, don't be sad. Don't give up. Okay. All right. Now we already know the components of plot in a short story. And let's apply it in our next activity. So, moving on to the next activity. For this activity, you need to work in pair and create a short essay consists of 2 paragraphs about 250 words using the element of plot that you have learned just now. So give me an essay that has at least 2 elements of plot, and you have 30 minutes to complete your essay, and please send it to me after you have finished. You can use any platform to do your discussion, such as WhatsApp, Telegram, Padlet, and so on. So, any questions, students, regarding the task?
No, teacher. Understood.
No, teacher.
All right, your 30 minutes starts now. Students, time's up, and thank you for sending me your essay. All right. As you all can see, I already have your essay, and can I have a volunteer to read the first paragraph, please?
Can I, teacher?
Yeah, sure. Shahira.
Okay, so this is the exposition part because in this paragraph, the character and setting was introduced. So, on a Sunday evening, Inspector James was at his office. There was an important matter that required his immediate attention. A 13-year-old girl was kidnapped a few days ago near her home. Shirley, the kidnapping victim, was walking towards her house when she was abducted by 4 hefty men in a red vehicle. 2 of the men seized the poor girl and dragged her into the vehicle, which sped away. A neighbor witnessed the incident and immediately told her parents, who filed a police report together. That's all for my part.
All right. Thank you, Shahira. Can I have Shafika for the next paragraph?
Okay, for the next paragraph, we choose rising action, the part where the main character starts to face an issue. So I'll read the second paragraph. A ransom message was sent to her rich parents the next day. $250,000 was the demand to secure her release. The cops were doing everything they could to save the girl and capture her kidnappers. Inspector James had received an unexplained communication at his workplace that Sunday morning. It was sent by mail in a white envelope and written on a plain white A4 size paper. It read, "The girl is safe for the moment. Hurry or she will be raped and killed when the ransom is paid." A friend signed the message. Inspector James was well aware that what the message said may very well be correct. Shirley would have seen the kidnapper's face, and they might have killed her once they had the money to avoid being identified in the future.
All right. Thank you, Shafika and Shahira. Excellent. That was a good try from both of you. You both also managed to identify the element of plot in the short story that you have right. Congratulations. Okay, class. That's the end of our lesson about plot in a short story. Do you have any question regarding today's lesson?
No, teacher.
All right. If no, I have a question. from the short story QISTINA that we have learned today, what do you think the moral value that can be observed in that short story? Can anyone?
Can I try?
Yeah, sure, Shafika.
I think from the short story, the moral value is we should not give up easily, because from Lucy, we can see that her character tries her best to defend her job. Yeah, that's all from me.
All right. What about Shahira? Do you have anything to share?
Okay. I think yes, teacher. I think based on the moral value, in order to be successful in life, we need to have a positive mindset. Also, do not judge a book by its cover.
All right. Thank you for your share.
That's
Okay.
all from my part.
Okay, correct, student. The moral value that can be observed in the short story is, in order to be successful in life, we need to have a positive mindset. Correct, Shahira? We also need to preserve the family ties and unity through understanding and forgiving. And last but not least, do not judge a book by its cover. All right, students, that's the end of our class for today. Do you have fun? And can you share with me what you have learned from today's lesson?
I think I learned a lot today, and the explanation are very clear because teacher Deevviya explained one by one the plots. So it makes me understand the plots better. And I also like the activity, the Kahoot, because it's very fun to answer the questions about the plot. Yeah, thank you so much, teacher.
Most welcome. Anything from Shahira?
Yes, I think I personally like the game. It made me so excited to answer all those questions. And I feel thankful to teacher Tasha and teacher Deevviya for teach us a lot about the plot and how to identify the right one for the exposition, for the fall action. Thank you a lot, teacher.
All right, most welcome, student. So that's all for today. Thank you for participating actively in the class. And Teacher D, do you have anything to say?
Thanks a lot, Shahira and Shafika, for your active participation in class. Teacher Tasha and me are very proud of you because you have done your reading, you have answered your questions well, and you haven't played the activity very good. So we are both very proud of you, and thank you for your active participation in the class. Take care.
All right, take care, students. Goodbye. See you next week.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.